Fintech. What is fintech? A name that so many of you have heard about. There's a joke which is actually backed by a study that a millennial would rather visit a dentist than walk to a banking hall for services. How do you prepare yourself to serve or to have a career that serves such a generation? My name is Boniface Mungania, Head of M-Pesa Product Management at Safaricom PLC, to discuss with you how you can prepare yourself for a career in fintech. What is fintech? It's simple as the name says. You can break down fin and tech. Fintech is a short form for financial technology. But if you want to define it in a more practical way, fintech is the use of technology in design and delivery of financial services. And if I can underline something within the definition, is technology, it is design, it is delivery of financial services. We are coming, and if you look around, financial service industry in any particular country is one of the largest economic sectors. And it's not a new industry. It's existed for years. Banks have been here with us since time immemorial. And what has happened is, over the last few years, the landscape is changing. Technology has gone into financial service industry, and that's why we are merging with fintech, a very exciting area. What will be the impact of fintech in future, and how do you prepare yourself? Let's first of all see how fintech as an industry is coming up. Break down a few terms that you're going to hear as far as fintech is concerned. We've discussed what fintech is, but also there's a term that you come across called tech fin, which is more or less the same. It's technology in financial services. And this is where a company that is traditional, a technology company, offers financial services. And then there's a big tech. Big tech is where the companies that are inordinate influence, that have an inordinate influence in technology, and in this case, you're referring to them starting to get interest or to offer services in financial service industry. Let's take an example. Is M-Pesa fintech or a tech fin? That's a question you need to debate, because M-Pesa is offered by a technology company and is a financial service product. So you could argue actually M-Pesa is a tech fin. If you look at the global trends, Amazon, or students loan now offered on Amazon, which is a big tech. That's an interesting trend. And it's still a tech fin, but by a big tech. So these are terms you come across whenever you're looking at an industry like fintech. And it's good you start understanding how fintech came about, what really is fintech, and how can you prepare yourself. So let's take a journey and look at the eras of financial technology, or the fintech. How did it come about? So for almost 100 years of existence of banking and financial service industry, focus was more of building infrastructure for financial services. And what has happened is, you can break down the evolution of fintech into two broad eras. The first one is 100 years of just preparing for infrastructure. Then came 2008, the financial crisis, and a couple of things happened. Banks have never been slow in taking up innovation, and they were taking innovation even before the 2008 financial crisis. But what happened is, the crisis forced a shift. And one of the things that happened is, a lot of professionals in the industry were laid off. And if you look around, look at the old bankers. They are now starting small firms. Some of the microfinance institutions you see around are owned by people who are working in banking industries before. And massive layoff of professionals within the financial service industry made them start thinking how they can come up with services in an industry they were serving. And they're well experienced. Then the second thing is, the banks slowed down on innovation because they focus on compliance. A lot of pressure was put on banks, a lot of fines, and technology took the back seat. So there then existed a room for someone else to come and fill in, because if you look at the evolution, innovation was always continuous. And then another thing is evolution, or the infrastructure supported by internet, smartphones, and general mobile telephony created a whole new channel that has encouraged or has come up to create what we call fintech today, which is mobile phone, internet, and technology. And if you look closely, you realize that the real start of what we call fintech 2.0. 2.0 is post the financial industry crisis. A year before is actually when iPhone was launched, the first iPhone. And that tells you then mobile telephony was moving into a whole new area. And then there's now the 3.0 fintech. 3.0 is where now startups have actually taken up the industry. Players that were not in the traditional financial service industry have come in, and they started offering financial services. TechFin, basically, and startups going into fintech. At the same time, the banks who actually saw an opportunity earlier started moving into fintech, either as a separate arm of the business or as a way of innovating around their channels or improving user experience. And that's how fintech was born. So if I can just summarize, it's for a long time, banks building infrastructure, but slowly adopting innovation. Then come the financial crisis of 2008, and factors forced banks to scale down on innovation, and a lot of professionals being laid off, and advancement in or penetration of internet and growth of mobile telephony, creating a whole new platforms for innovation to take place. And then startups now taking up fintech as an industry. So if we can go further, we ask ourselves, how has fintech transformed, or how is fintech transforming the financial service industry? Just take a simple look at how you're transacting today. Even in the university, a few years back, you probably go and apply for your student loan at a help center. For those who are old enough, they'll tell you that it used to happen in the University of Nairobi, and it was a couple of weeks where students would travel from across the country to come and submit the application. What's happening today? It's on mobile. You can do it almost everywhere in the country. That's how fintech has actually changed the financial service industry. Banking. Post-bank used to have a book where every time you go for a withdrawal, there's a sticker that used to be put on top of your book to show that you've actually removed or deposited money, withdrawn or deposited money from a bank account. But today, all you need to do is just dial a USSD or an app, and you can access financial services. So I'll look at 5 areas where fintech is impacting the financial service industry. And from where you sit, you need to ask yourself, I'm an upcoming professional. How do I plug in? Where do I fit in all these areas? Or how do I make myself relevant in one of the most exciting industries, and the industry for sure that is going to serve the future? The first area to look at is how fintech is impacting finance and investment. One of the things that you do as you get to career world, the next thing you'll be asking is, how do I generate wealth? How do I get my money growing? And you start looking at the options available. Do I get into real estate? Do I start buying shares? etc. But you'll be happy to see how fintech is transforming that area. And a few technologies are coming up. So we call this alternative financing, where the instruments are more aligned to, or they are coming from the emerging trends. Examples I'll give you: crowdfunding. Crowdfunding is where many people can contribute, for example, to a startup or to a project. Not necessarily in the big tickets, but small amounts, but many people means you can raise more funds. Peer-to-peer lending is a very interesting thing. And whenever I look at peer-to-peer lending, I match it to what we normally do. You go to your friend and tell him, give me 50 bob, or give me 1,000 bob, I'll pay back. What I've done is I've borrowed from a person. I've not borrowed from an institution. This can all be digitized. This can all be put in a platform, and a lot of peer-to-peer lending platforms have emerged. Closer home, those who do not know, there's an app called Uber Pesa. I know for now they scaled down because of a few things they are working on, but it's an exciting product to be in the market. And how Uber Pesa used to work is they get in the two sides, the lenders and the borrowers. The lenders are people with money to lend, and borrowers are people who want to access credit. And the platform is matching the two. That's a peer-to-peer lending platform. And globally, you see more and more of these. And what these are doing is, they are ideally, you would have borrowed from a bank or from a SACC or from an MFI, but you can borrow from a person without necessarily knowing who this person is. And you see some of the measures they put in place, like insurance and credit scoring, so they can advise who is borrowing on the nature or the profile of the person they're borrowing from or they're lending to. And then there are others, like you've heard of cryptocurrencies, and equivalent of what you look at IPO. Whenever cryptocurrencies are being introduced, they come in as ICOs. So these are ways, or these are alternative financing. And as the industry continues to evolve, as new trends continue to emerge, you'll be seeing more alternative financing options. Second, compliance and risk management. I want to take you back to the process of opening a bank account before. You visit a bank, you fill in a form, your account will take a couple of days or weeks to process, and then you have an account. That's not easy to scale. But what has happened now in this era, and you see this happening in almost every banking institution, they've integrated to all the sources of data they need. And all you need to do is just dial an app or USSD, and you have a bank account set up. Let me give you an example. It takes seconds or maximum probably a minute to have your M-Shwari account active. That's a bank account that you've opened. It's because they can collect a lot of data remotely from where you are, your account is set up. Now, what this means is that it's very easy to scale up financial services. But this comes with risk. The same way it is easy to scale up, also the same way it is harder for regulators to keep up with the trend. There's a term that you always see, which is from too small to care, just a small startup, probably offering credit and all that, to too large to fail or too big to fail, where the scale means that the regulators really cannot afford to have you go down, for example, or be non-compliant. And what is happening is regulators are now coming up with what we call the regulatory sandboxes. And these are tools that they use, and they've incorporated startups so that from the word go, they are working with the startup and assisting to build the right regulatory processes that are required for a product like financial service. It's a very common process. So it's a very common practice now. In Kenya, if you look at the CMA, the Capital Markets Authority, they already have a sandbox, and they're admitting some of the startups. And that's one of the trends that the regulators are adopting to cope with this scale and the fast growth of fintechs. But within the larger industry, there is a subclass of fintech that has emerged, which we call RegTech. RegTech is regulatory technology, very simple. Basically, it is use of technology to help you comply in a very simple way. And what is happening is there is an approach from the regulators, but this is becoming one of the one of the fastest growing areas. And a lot of startups are taking up RegTech. And when they take up RegTech, it is to offer RegTech solutions to companies and financial institutions. A very interesting area. But as you'll be seeing later, these are some of the opportunities available to upcoming professionals, either to work or launch as startups. A very interesting area, but how do you then prepare to go into RegTech? The second or the third area is payments and infrastructure. Those who have studied the story of M-Pesa will tell you that M-Pesa almost mimicked the journey of sending money via a long distance bus. You go to a city, you give someone money, they ship it to a country, then someone will come and collect it. And that's how the first M-Pesa transaction was introduced. You visit an agent, you deposit, instead of a bus, you're sending it via text message, reaches the recipient, and then the recipient visits an agent and cash out. And you can see how easy it has become now to move money, or to the velocity of money transfer. So payment is one of the areas that fintech has really transformed. And we don't need to go very far. We have M-Pesa here. But globally, you have the likes of PayPal and all these other payment networks built. The speed of money has moved, has increased significantly. The cost is coming down, and a lot of opportunities for people processing and all that have joined the network. I could group, or I could classify the payment and infrastructure into three phases, where the 19th century is a physical stack. It's, going to the bank, through the clearing houses and all that. And then coming to the 20th century, a lot of digitization, and that's where mobile and real-time gross settlement have come in. And then now the future, it's even more interesting, where it's likely to be guided by things like artificial intelligence and other advanced technologies in payment. And there's a new norm that is evolving, where payments do not exist alone. One of the things you'll be seeing very soon, and if you read the news around fintech and social networks, see what has happened in India and some days ago in Brazil, where payments are now in WhatsApp. So what is happening is payments do not exist alone. There's a reason why you're making a payment. It's probably you need to pay for a service. You're supporting a friend, and payments and the context of payments are coming together. So you hear things like contextual payments. You hear things like social payments, where payments are being embedded with the reason why they are being made. Is it a conversation and payment? It's a chat plus a payment. And credit is also being incorporated as part of the payment stack. A very interesting trend to look at. And in terms of customer needs, they're emerging, where they want to make a payment instantly and in the most simple way. I remember one of the things that, or one of the problems we had with M-Pesa for a very long time, is a disjointed payment journey in relation to what the customer is doing. I'll give you an example. Most of the apps you do today, or you visit today, you find that whenever you want to make a payment, we no longer request you to leave the app and then you go to pay bill and then make a payment to a long number and an account number. You just confirm you want to make payments, you put your mobile number and you get a pop. So that's a context-based. Payments and the context are happening together. So those are some of the things you need to look at, where user experience in this case is very important as far as the payment is concerned. But also a lot of advancement has happened. There's a big headache that you find across many payment service providers. How do we minimize errors? You can imagine a simple mistake today when you're sending money means that money goes to the wrong person. And those who have gone through that kind of process knows it's not very easy, especially if the recipient is dishonest. You can lose money in the process. How do we minimize things like errors? And that's where fintech comes in future. Is there technology that you can use to predict that the customer is about to make an error and guide them accordingly? So as you prepare for career in fintech, these are some of the trends and these are some of the needs that you really have to address. The fourth area is data and security. And I know everyone talks about data, big data analytics and all that, but a lot of use of data. I read an article that was saying financial institutions are now becoming data companies as opposed to companies that rely on interest and commissions and transaction fees. And the whole idea is that the data, either generated by customers or can be accessed by the financial institution, can be used to make better decisions and offer better services. And in addition to that, you need to look at this area called identity, where digital identity is becoming a very important resource to any financial institution. And a lot of collaboration will have to take place in future, where we collaborate with the likes financial institutions. How do we share things like identity, or how do we build a common identity? And this will help in things like KYC, your customers, when you're signing up for new services, etc. So a very interesting area, but the key question is, how do we process data? How do you make use of data? How do we generate the right information? And how do we then monetize? How do you create a whole enterprise out of data available from the customers? The last area is in technology in customer interface. User experience is now becoming a very important part of products. It's not just which is the lowest, or which product has the lowest price, which is the most affordable product, which is product based on the best technology. User experience is how you make the customer feel when they interact in your service. And in most cases, when you leave good memories, if they find it intuitive, if they find it easy to use, if it gives them good experiences, they either become your promoters, and if the opposite is happening, they become your detractors. And you find that a lot of products, customers market your products to other customers very easily. They can refer other customers to use the services. And a lot of emphasis is now being put on user experience. People are building fantastic apps, intelligent apps, and the interface has shifted. Before, it was you carrying cards. If I can throw a challenge to you as young professionals today, there's a problem I see every time I walk to a supermarket. And I'll give you 3 supermarkets in Kenya. Carrefour is on an app for loyalty. Naivas is on a card. Tusk is on a card. You can imagine if you sign up for 100 loyalty programs, because you access various services, you'll be carrying 100 cards or 100 mobile applications. That's an area that is ready for disruption. That's an area that is ready for better, user interface. And these are some of the problems that we can solve with fintech. So globally, you find some of the most exciting apps. I looked at GPay, which is a Google payment. It's looking good. The new app they've launched, you go to the likes of N26, Revolut, which are changing digital banking. And even locally, you see all the banks are trying to improve how customers interact with them through better apps, better user experience, etc. And basically, those are some of the areas. It's not limited. There are others that will emerge. There's a lot of work to be done in property. There's a lot of work to be done in insurance, insurtech. And fintech is what will drive change. But you could ask yourself then, what are some of the trends that you're seeing? And this is not a topic that I like discussing, because today you list 5 trends, tomorrow new ones emerge. But some of the things you're seeing is TechFin, what you mentioned earlier. The technology companies moving into financial services. And some of the best examples I've given locally, Safaricom is a technology company which is moving, or which is offering financial services. Globally, you could refer to WeChat and Alipay in China. And now even the big techs are coming in, Google, Amazon, and Facebook. Very interesting trend to watch. The second one is more of the AI, and especially the voice, offering financial services. You've heard of Alexa and the, Google and Siri. So all these are new interfaces that can do a lot of things, and they also can offer a lot of financial services. A third trend that you need to look at is how data is being used in financial industry or offering financial services. Credit scoring. So how do we use the data, customer data, to profile them for credit without having them to provide collateral for loans? This is a trend you're seeing locally. A lot of apps before Google changed a few of their policies used to go through your text messages and construct a statement that they can use to lend. That was a good trend, but of course there are a couple of things that happen in that area, and it's a trend that you continue seeing where data is being used to offer you services, is being used to predict what kind of a customer you are. Can you pay a loan and all that? And then the rise of AI, you've seen a lot of financial institutions offering automated services via chatbots. Safaricom alone offers our customer service unassisted through Zuri platform, which is a chatbot. It's an AI platform. I've seen a couple of banks. There was a promise at some point of a bank committing to customers that they will be able to open their accounts via chat. Hasn't worked very well, but it's a trend to watch. And then cryptocurrencies and blockchain is an interesting area to watch. What you need to find out is it a technology that has a use case, or is it a technology that is waiting for people to build use cases around? So these are some of the trends. They're not exhaustive. You'll be seeing a lot of trends, and these really are areas that you need to look at as far as you're looking at your career. Trends inform where we are likely to be going and informs what skills and how we need to prepare. Then, just before we close, you could ask, why is fintech so important? And the first thing is what we call financial inclusion. Now, before M-Pesa started, financial inclusion in Kenya was at 20%. This is more of a measure of the population that is able to access formal financial services. There are days of Shylock when if you needed a loan, you go and leave your smartphone or you leave an asset with a Shylock, who will give you probably 20% of the value of that asset that you've left with them. And in most cases, you default, they just sell your asset. To formal financial inclusion, where now all you need to do is just have a good score and you can access M-Shwari. That's how far we've moved. Look at the number of customers now who are banked. Kenya has financial inclusion of 80%, which is that in Africa, after Seychelles and South Africa. And this is in the few years of M-Pesa, where it has become so easy now to access financial services on mobile or the same platform being used to distribute banking services. It's now very easy to open a bank account. It's now very easy to access credit. It's very easy now to get a place where you can save your money. And I hope in future it will be very easy for you to build wealth. And financial inclusion lifts massively population out of poverty. If you're moving into career, one of the things you need to look at is, if you want to have an exciting career, don't just go for the pay and, I have a job. It's more about the impact and the transformation. I can tell you from my years of experience, it will be very exciting going to work knowing that the next day you'll be seeing massive impact of that project that you're working on that project that is going to change the small businesses, on that project that is going to put more ability in customers' hands. And financial inclusion is one big area. So as Safaricom, one of the things we've asked ourselves is, access alone enough? And we're asking, how can we also make sure that access is leading to empowerment, whether as an individual or as a small business? And then the next thing is emerging fintechs who are better placed to address emerging customer needs. One of the things you'll find, and you look at fintechs around the world, they might not be interested in the deposit taking or the more what you can call the back office side of the bank. They are more keen on the front side, user experience, the face that the customer sees. And what is likely to happen is models will evolve where fintechs will be the front end and banks will take the traditional role, sitting at the vault and doing all those things that the bank do. And what this means is that fintechs are better placed to address emerging needs. We talked of the joke of millennials more comfortable visiting a dentist than a bank. It's because they expect better, and they don't feel they need to visit the bank. But how do we build to ensure that the user experience gives them what they want? And this is one area that is changing. The traditional banker is not the banker we knew. We normally know them as guys who wear suits and ties, blue or dark colors and white or blue shirts. That's not the banker of the future. The banker of the future is more, designer, is thinking how is it easy for a customer to interact with the service. Is more interested in the technology that will make it more efficient for banking services to be offered. So this is one area that you really have to align, and we'll be discussing that in a few minutes. And then the next thing is compliance. It's very easy to celebrate the success of fintech, but it's also important to keep an eye on the risk that they pose. And compliance is very important. So the fact that you cannot keep up with a fast or the pace of fintech, the pace of fintech means it needs to be supported with the right pace in regulatory compliance, and technology is coming in there. We've talked of RegTech, which is a new area and is a big area where startups and careers are going to be built around. So those are some of the importance of fintech, and inform some of the areas you need to look at even as you start your career. And then in conclusion, how does the banker of the future look like? And I've used the name banker to represent a professional in the larger financial service industry. They will be from very different skill sets. It's not, what we learned, financial, accounting, and risk, insurance, and all that. It's changed. The whole landscape is changing. And one of the realities that, and I saw a prediction that in the next 10 years, 30% of banking jobs will be lost. That's sad. At the same time, fewer jobs will be created within fintech, but they will not be replacing the jobs that have been lost. They will be completely different skill sets and completely different from the traditional banker, which requires more of, creative designers and programmers. And then there should be a fundamental change in mindset, whether at our level as professionals or even the parents, where the next career will probably not in that stable job at the bank. It could be in a startup, or could be launching a startup. And there is one thing I complain about a lot, is the lack of innovation, especially at the small businesses. So what happens is you open a business and you find 100 copies of the same. You have a car wash, neighborhood has a better car wash, and the other one who has more money will launch another car wash. You do a wines and spirit, you find a chain of them. You go, so they're even known, if you talk about business in Kenya, you find they're like common. It's this which has been taken up by so many people. But look at the things that you're leaving behind. A whole fintech area where you could even be offering services to financial institutions. That requires innovation. That requires people who have been trained with the right skills, and they can transform a whole industry. That's a big area to look at. And then the third thing that we need to look at as far as preparing ourselves for career in fintech is the right training. Along the presentation, we've talked a lot about the skills required. Some of the skills you've heard me mention is programming, technology, software, and all that. Data and analytics, a big area. Design thinking is going to be a key skill for any professional working in this industry. And then the right mindset. But to encompass all this, you realize that fintechs will never work successfully like the traditional organization. They are moving into what we call agile, and working in agile. Either product development is agile. You don't build a product and you take it to customers. You find out what the customer want, you build with them, you test with them, you launch the product with them. And those are some of the key skill sets that you require as you look at the career in fintech. And if I was given a chance to take this back to the learning institutions, I would keep the core services, economics, finance, but I will embed a fintech. For example, if you're looking at the context of financial service industry professionals, I will embed a fintech module within the core courses like finance and economics. And so, in a summary, fintech is a big area. Fintech is disrupting how financial service institutions have operated before, is bringing massive benefits, and is opening up a whole new set of careers. And it will not be your traditional banking. It will not be your traditional financial service professional. It will require you look at the right skills. I've talked of things like you need to understand the technology, the underlying technology of the services you're offering. You need to know how to work with data and analytics. You need to know how to work in a lean and agile delivery. You need to know how to market via social media channels. And you need to keep an eye on the trending or the technologies that are trending and ability to continually learn what is required to be successful in such an industry.